Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive where we, sift through all the noise and try to find the knowledge nuggets you actually need.
That's right.
And today we're diving into a topic that's been making waves
Oh, yeah.
for a while now, blockchain and cryptocurrency.
It's everywhere.
It is, and it can feel a little overwhelming, especially if you're not, immersed in that world every day.
For sure.
So we're going to try to navigate those complexities together so you can walk away and, confidently discuss this tech, whether you're at a meeting with friends or just for your own understanding.
Absolutely.
So to start with, let's talk about this idea of blockchain. We hear it everywhere, but what is that core concept? What do we talk about when we say blockchain?
So blockchain, you can think of it like a digital record-keeping system, almost like a giant Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
But it has some really unique properties.
Like what?
Well, unlike a traditional database that's managed by a single entity, like a company, blockchain is decentralized, meaning it's spread across a whole network of computers.
Oh, I see. So there's no single point of control, no central authority that's like calling all the shots.
Exactly. That distributed nature is what makes it so secure and transparent.
Okay.
Each transaction or piece of data is cryptographically secured and linked to the previous one, creating an immutable chain. So it's like a digital ledger that's constantly being audited and verified by the entire network.
So if someone tried to tamper with a record, wouldn't it be immediately obvious to everyone on the network?
It would be like trying to change a single cell in millions of identical spreadsheets all at once. It's just not feasible.
That's a great analogy. I think I'm starting to get it.
And that's why it's often described as tamper-proof. And this immutability and transparency have huge implications for so many industries, from finance to supply chain management and beyond.
Oh, wow.
It's a game changer.
So how does this all actually work in practice? Like, let's say I'm sending Bitcoin to a friend. What's happening behind the scenes?
Okay, so you initiate the transaction through your Bitcoin wallet. And this transaction is then broadcasted to the entire network of nodes.
Nodes.
Nodes. These are basically computers that are participating in the blockchain.
Got it.
And these nodes then verify the transaction using what's called a consensus mechanism.
Okay, consensus mechanism. That's what exactly does that entail?
It's basically how the network agrees on a shared truth, ensuring that everyone is on the same page about the validity of transactions.
Okay.
The most common consensus mechanism is proof of work, which is what Bitcoin uses.
Proof of work. Okay, I've heard that term thrown around a lot. Does that have something to do with those energy-intensive mining operations we hear about?
Yeah, you got it. In a proof of work system, specialized computers called miners compete to solve these complex mathematical problems. And the first miner to solve the problem gets to add a new block of transactions to the blockchain.
Oh, okay.
And is rewarded with Bitcoin for their efforts.
So it's almost like a race to secure the network and validate transactions.
Exactly. And this competitive process is what makes proof of work so energy intensive, because miners are constantly running powerful computers to try and solve these complex puzzles.
Okay, so it's a trade-off between security and sustainability.
Right. And that's something that developers are actively working on, trying to find more efficient ways to maintain that security without the huge energy consumption.
I see. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Are there any other consensus mechanisms that are maybe a little more eco-friendly? Ones that don't require as much computing power?
There are, there's proof of stake,
Yeah.
which is gaining popularity, especially with platforms like Ethereum. So instead of relying on miners, proof of stake uses validators who stake or lock up a certain amount of their own cryptocurrency to participate in securing the network.
So it's more about having a vested interest in the network's success rather than just raw computing power.
Exactly. The more cryptocurrency a validator stakes, the higher their chances of being chosen to validate transactions and earn rewards. It's definitely seen as a more energy efficient and scalable approach.
Okay, so we've got this incredibly secure, transparent system in blockchain. But where does cryptocurrency fit into all of this? Is it just like a fancy word for Bitcoin?
Well, Bitcoin is certainly the most famous cryptocurrency, but it's really just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, okay.
Cryptocurrency is essentially digital money built on blockchain technology. So think of blockchain as the infrastructure and cryptocurrency as what you use on that infrastructure.
So it's digital cash that uses the unique properties of blockchain to facilitate transactions.
Exactly. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are designed to be decentralized, secure, and borderless. They can be sent directly between individuals without needing a bank or any other intermediary.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see why so many people are excited about the potential of this technology.
Yeah, and the world of cryptocurrency goes far beyond just Bitcoin. You have platforms like Ethereum that allow for smart contracts and decentralized applications, stable coins pegged to fiat currencies, and even meme coins that have taken the internet by storm.
Wow, so it's like a whole ecosystem with different players and different purposes.
It really is.
But before we get into all of that, let's take a closer look at how these cryptocurrencies are actually secured.
Hmm.
We've talked about consensus mechanisms, but how do they actually prevent things like fraud or double spending?
That's where those consensus mechanisms really shine. They're the backbone of ensuring the integrity and security of the whole blockchain. So let's take proof of work as an example again, since it's the most established.
Okay, so walk me through how proof of work would prevent someone from, say, spending the same Bitcoin twice.
So let's say someone tries to spend the same Bitcoin in two different transactions.
Right.
Both of those transactions would be broadcast to the network.
And then what? Would the network kind of flag it as suspicious because it sees the same Bitcoin being used in two places?
Exactly, because remember, every single transaction is recorded on the blockchain.
Right.
And every node has a copy of that blockchain. So if a Bitcoin has already been spent in one transaction, it can't be used in another.
That makes sense. So the blockchain's transparency and mutability are really working together here to prevent that kind of fraud.
They are. It's a very clever system.
And what about proof of stake? Does it have similar safeguards in place?
It does, yeah. In a proof-of-stake system, validators are incentivized to act honestly.
Okay.
Because they've actually put their own cryptocurrency on the line.
Mm.
So if they try to validate a fraudulent transaction, they risk losing their stake.
So there are real consequences for bad actors.
Absolutely. Both proof of work and proof of stake have their own ways of making sure transactions are legitimate and preventing fraud. They each have their pros and cons.
Sure.
But ultimately, they both aim to create a secure and trustworthy blockchain.
Okay, this is all starting to click into place. Now we've got this foundational technology in blockchain, we've got these digital currencies and cryptocurrency, and we've got these consensus mechanisms working behind the scenes to keep everything secure.
You got it. And now that we've laid the groundwork, we can start exploring the really interesting stuff. What blockchain and cryptocurrency can actually do beyond just being digital money.
Right, because this isn't just about sending money back and forth.
Yeah.
I keep hearing about smart contracts and decentralized applications, and I'm definitely curious to learn more.
Well, get ready because we're about to go beyond the basics and dive into the real potential of blockchain.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Let's do it. Okay, so smart contracts, they sound kind of futuristic, like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, they do have that kind of futuristic ring to them. And I mean, in a way, they are reshaping how we think about agreements and transactions.
So tell me more, like what exactly are we talking about here?
So basically, a smart contract is like a self-executing contract where the terms of the agreement are written directly into code.
Oh, I see. So instead of relying on lawyers and all that paperwork, the code itself is what enforces the terms of the agreement.
Exactly. That's the whole idea. Once the conditions that are outlined in the code are met, the contract automatically executes.
So it's like a digital vending machine. You put in your money, select your item, and boom, the machine dispenses it automatically. No need for a cashier or a middleman.
That's a great analogy.
Okay, so I'm starting to see the potential here. Can you give me a real-world example of how this might actually be used?
Sure. So imagine like a decentralized marketplace where artists can sell their work directly to collectors using NFTs.
Oh, yeah.
The smart contract could handle everything, verifying the ownership, transferring the payment, and even distributing royalties automatically every time that NFT is resold.
Oh, wow. So it streamlines that whole process and cuts out the need for like galleries or auction houses.
Exactly. That kind of disintermediation is one of the key characteristics of blockchain tech. It empowers individuals to interact directly with each other and creates these more efficient and transparent systems.
That's fascinating. What other applications are we seeing with smart contracts?
Oh, they're popping up everywhere, in decentralized finance or DeFi. Smart contracts are powering lending platforms, decentralized exchanges, and even insurance protocols.
Yeah.
We're seeing them used in supply chain management, where they can track products from origin to destination, ensuring transparency and accountability. And even voting systems are being explored using blockchain and smart contracts to try to create these more secure and tamper-proof elections.
So it sounds like smart contracts have the potential to disrupt just about every industry imaginable.
They really do. It's a pretty exciting time to be watching this space unfold.
Yeah, it's almost overwhelming to think about all the possibilities.
It is. It's a lot to take in. And I mean, we're still in the early stages of figuring out the full potential of blockchain and smart contracts.
Right.
But it's becoming increasingly clear that this technology has the power to reshape how we interact with each other and with institutions.
Okay, I'm starting to feel like I need a crypto wallet just to keep up with all of this innovation.
Uh-huh.
So let's talk about where people actually store their cryptocurrency and what are the options? Where do you keep your digital gold?
Right. So you've got two main types of wallets,
Okay.
hot wallets and cold wallets.
Right.
Think of a hot wallet like your everyday wallet. It's connected to the internet for easy access and transactions.
Gotcha.
So software wallets like MetaMask and Trust Wallet fall into that category, as do exchange wallets that are provided by platforms like Binance or Coinbase.
Okay, so those are convenient for frequent transactions, but maybe not the most secure option if you're thinking long term.
That's right. If security is your top priority, especially for larger amounts of cryptocurrency, you'll want to consider a cold wallet.
Okay.
These are offline wallets, so they're not connected to the internet, which makes them much less vulnerable to hacking.
It's like keeping your savings in a safe deposit box instead of carrying it around in your pocket.
Exactly. Hardware wallets like Ledger or Trezor are popular cold wallet options. They look like little USB drives, and they store your private keys offline, and you can even go old school with a paper wallet.
A paper wallet.
Yeah, where your private keys are literally printed on a piece of paper and kept in a secure location.
That's fascinating. It sounds like a digital version of burying your gold in the backyard.
Haha.
Yeah, kinda. Okay, but let's be real. All of this sounds incredibly promising, but I mean, there must be some risks involved, right? What should people be aware of before they just dive headfirst into the world of cryptocurrency?
Oh, yeah. You're absolutely right. To be cautious, cryptocurrency is still a relatively new and evolving technology, and it's really important to be aware of the potential downsides.
Like what? What are some of the red flags people should be on the lookout for?
Well, one of the biggest risks is volatility.
Okay.
Cryptocurrency prices can fluctuate like crazy sometimes, swing dramatically in a matter of hours.
I've heard stories of people buying pizza with Bitcoin years ago. And if they had held onto that Bitcoin, it would be worth a fortune today. It's almost like gambling.
Yeah, and that's exactly the kind of volatility we're talking about. It can be exciting, but it's also a double-edged sword. You could see huge gains,
Sure.
but you could also experience significant losses. It's crucial to only invest what you can afford to lose.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
What other risks should people be aware of?
Well, security is a major concern, Hacking, phishing scams, and outright fraud are unfortunately pretty common in the crypto space.
So how can people protect themselves?
Choosing reputable exchanges and wallets is really important.
Okay.
Enabling two-factor authentication on all your accounts is a must.
Right.
And just be wary of any unsolicited offers or investment schemes that sound too good to be true.
Because if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Exactly.
And what about the regulatory landscape? Is that something people need to consider?
Absolutely. Cryptocurrency regulations vary widely from country to country, and they're constantly evolving, so it's essential to stay informed about the specific regulations in your jurisdiction.
So it's not quite the Wild West anymore, but there's still a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair assessment, and that lack of clear and consistent regulations can create a lot of challenges for investors and businesses that are operating in the crypto space.
Okay, I'm definitely getting the message. Proceed with caution. But let's end on a more optimistic note. What does the future hold for cryptocurrency? Is this just a fad or is it here to stay?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
But while it's impossible to predict the future with absolute certainty, I do believe that blockchain and cryptocurrency are here to stay. We're seeing increasing adoption by individuals, by businesses, and even by governments.
So what are some of the key trends you're seeing that point towards a future where cryptocurrency is more mainstream?
One of the most significant developments is the rise of central bank digital currencies, or on CBDCs. Yeah, these are basically digital versions of fiat currencies that are issued and backed by central banks.
So it's like government-sanctioned cryptocurrency.
Exactly. Countries like China are already piloting their own CBDCs.
Wow.
And a lot of other countries are exploring the concept, so this could have a major impact on how we use and perceive money.
That's really interesting. What other trends are shaping the future of this space?
Well, the DeFi movement continues to gain a ton of momentum. We talked about it earlier, but Decentralized finance is all about building financial services on blockchain without needing those traditional intermediaries.
Mm.
So we're seeing innovative lending platforms, decentralized exchanges, and even insurance protocols emerging. It's really disrupting the traditional financial system.
Oh, it sounds like a more inclusive and accessible financial system, one that's open to anyone with an internet connection.
That's the vision, and it's super exciting to see how this space is evolving. And we're also witnessing the rise of the metaverse.
Oh, yeah?
These immersive digital worlds where people can interact, work, and play.
Right.
And NFTs are playing a huge role in the metaverse, representing ownership of digital assets like virtual real estate art and even in-game items.
It's incredible to think how far we've come from just using Bitcoin to buy pizza.
It really is. And we're only scratching the surface of what's possible. There are tons of efforts underway to improve blockchain scalability and energy efficiency, which are crucial for mass adoption.
Right.
New use cases are constantly emerging, and the pace of innovation is just relentless.
Okay, my head is officially spinning with all these possibilities.
Uh-huh.
But before we get completely lost in the metaverse, let's bring it back to reality for a moment. What are the key takeaways our listeners should remember from this deep dive?
I'd say the most important takeaway is that blockchain technology is here to stay. It's not just about cryptocurrency. It has the potential to revolutionize so many different industries and aspects of our lives.
So it's not just a tech trend. It's a fundamental shift in how we think about trust, transparency, and value exchange.
Exactly. And while cryptocurrency is definitely a key part of the blockchain ecosystem, it's crucial to understand the risks involved. You know, volatility, security concerns, and regulatory uncertainty, those are all factors to consider before investing.
Proceed with caution. Do your research, and never invest more than you can afford to lose. That's sound advice.
Absolutely. And lastly, remember that this space is constantly evolving. Stay curious, stay informed, and be prepared for the unexpected. The future of blockchain and cryptocurrency is full of possibilities.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things you got to keep up with.
Oh, for sure.
But that's part of what makes it so interesting, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Constantly changing new stuff, popping up all the time.
And that kind of brings us to another takeaway for our listeners. This idea of continuous learning, right?
Right.
You can't just assume that what you know today is going to be relevant tomorrow.
Nope.
You got to keep learning, keep exploring, and be ready to adapt.
Exactly. The world of blockchain and cryptocurrency, it's not for the passive observer. It really rewards those who are actively engaged. You know, the ones who are willing to really dive in and learn the nuances.
And speaking of diving in, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We've gone through the fundamentals of blockchain, the intricacies of cryptocurrency, the potential of smart contracts,
Yeah.
the risks and rewards of investing, and even touched on things like CBDCs in the metaverse.
It's been quite the journey.
It has. And I want to commend our listeners for sticking with us through this. You know, it's a complex topic,
It is.
but it's an incredibly important one.
For sure.
So before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a little something to think about.
Okay.
What are the potential societal implications of widespread blockchain adoption? You know, how might this impact our institutions, our economies, even our daily lives?
That's a great question, and it's one that we all need to be thinking about. Will blockchain lead to a more decentralized world, a more equitable world? Or will it create new challenges? You know, will it exacerbate existing inequalities?
Right. Will it empower individuals, or will it concentrate power in the hands of big tech companies or governments?
These are questions that we need to be discussing as this technology continues to evolve, and it's a conversation that needs to involve everyone, not just the techies and the investors, but policymakers, ethicists, and everyday people.
Because ultimately, the future of blockchain, it's not set in stone, right?
Right.
It's shaped by the choices that we make today.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this such an exciting time. We have a real opportunity to use this technology for good, to create a more transparent, more secure, and more inclusive world. But it's going to take awareness, critical thinking, and a willingness to engage in these conversations.
Well said. Well, on that note, we'll leave our listeners with those challenging but essential questions to ponder. We hope this deep dive has equipped you with the knowledge and the insights you need to navigate this complex world of blockchain and cryptocurrency with confidence and curiosity.
And remember, this is just the beginning. The future of blockchain is being written right now, and we're all invited to be a part of it.
That's a wrap on another deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those tough questions.